Consequently, the British establishment, have smoke coming out of their ears because they don't understand why they are not treated in the same way. Hey guys, I hope you're all doing well and that you had a great week. As you can see, I'm in the car again. So house guests, grab yourselves a drink and make yourselves comfortable. If you're passing by and you'd like to become a house guest, don't forget to hit subscribe and activate all of your notifications. I'm Chez, this is Chez M0i. Welcome to my place. Do you remember when I said this in last week's video? Some people are evil. Some people are evil. Okay? Evil intentions. I just think people in this country are so naive. Britain is not the safest place in the world, okay? There are countless incidents that happen here every day. As many of you know, the very next day, Monday the 29th of July, shortly before midday in Southport in the northwest of England, the 17-year-old demon, yes, I said demon, entered a venue where children between 7 and 11 years of age were taking part in a dance workshop. This demon, who incidentally was born and raised in the UK, began attacking this group of innocent children, stabbing them indiscriminately. Out of the 11 children and 2 adults attacked, 3 little girls under the age of 10 had succumbed to their injuries and sadly passed away. The town of Southport then had to endure riotous protests from outsiders representing far-right groups who used this murderous act as an excuse to inflict even more violence upon the town. But it did not stop there. These so-called protesters decided to incite their groups to take part in similarly violent protests in central London later on in the week. Like I said, these were far-right groups, not just random individuals. At the drop of a hat, they are primed and ready to make their presence known because, as we all know, in times of financial hardship, not necessarily just when heinous crimes are committed, certain sectors of society will always find a way to blame those who they believe are at the root of the problem.
When we look around and we see today in our politics a rich white man telling working class white people that their problem is brown people, we need to understand the historical pedigree of that. That is symbolic of the entire history of race and class politics in America. The history of rich white people telling working class and poor white people that their problem are black and brown people. Beginning in the 1600s, that is what happens. Prior to about 1670 or so, there was no such thing as the white race, at least not recognized as such, called as such. That is not what people of European descent were when they were in Europe. They were English, they were Irish, they were Scottish, they were whatever they were. They were not white. Only in the colonies do we become white, and for a very specific reason, because in those early years of the colonial period, where you had white indentured servants, one level above enslaved themselves, and you had African-descended folks, some of them enslaved for life, others indentured servants also in the earliest years of the colonies, those people would often see their interests as being common. They all realized that they were being screwed over by the same landowners, the same elite. They fomented various rebellions, like Bacon's Rebellion in Virginia, others as well. And as a result, the elite in the colonies realized that they had to figure out a way to get the other folks from Europe on their team. So they created this mentality that said, you're now a member of the white race. You're on our team. You're wearing our uniform. Now you're at the end of the bench. You may not get in the game, but you're on our team, you see. So then they start putting white folks, now called, on the slave patrols, right? Didn't really give them any land or any real power except the power to control people of color, which is why folks of color say, and they are right, that modern policing traces to the system of slave patrols and slavery. And we have to be clear on that because that's the history. Right? Whiteness was created to divide and conquer, to create the notion that even though you might not have much, at least you're not black, at least you're not indigenous, at least you're not Mexican, at least you're not Chinese working on the railroads to build the transcontinental economy. You may not have much, but at least you have, as W.E.B. Du Bois said, the psychological wage of whiteness. And it's a trick that was played during the Civil War era on my people in the South, right? Rich folk, landowners in the South telling poor white folks who didn't own anything that they got to go out and fight to preserve the rich man's property in human beings. Fascinating. Why would you do that? Why would I go fight for your property? Well, because you told me that if I don't, these slaves are going to take my job. No, fool, they got your job. That's the point. If you got to charge $1 a day and you can make them work for free because you own them, guess who got the gig, Jack? Not you. When in fact, the system of enslavement was in the long run against the class interest of working class white folks, but they got suckered. Same thing happened in the union movement. You had white labor union folks who didn't want black and brown bodies in their union because it would reduce the professionalism of the craft. No, fool, it'll double the size of your union. And then when you go out on strike, they can't replace your happy ass with the brown folk that you didn't want next to you in the first place. Because when they do replace you with them, then you will blame them, not the elite. See how that works? It's a trick. And it has worked for hundreds of years. It is working on some folk right now. And it is our job to resist that with every fiber of our being.
So when you are told that the UK is not racist, the fact that a number of neo-Nazi and racist organisations have Meghan on their hit list tells you otherwise. And when you have these individuals who seem to represent a similar cohort saying what they would love to do to the Sussexes, understand that these same middle-aged, overweight, bitter man babies have been partly responsible for whipping up the hate campaign against Meghan, which has become a multi-million-pound industry. But yet still they pretend to be offended when Harry says he won't bring his wife here. Guess what else made the UK media angry this week?
Oye, mi amor, ¿qué vamos a hacer? Dime. Jangueando en la casa aburrido con ganas de qué, averiguando qué hacer por la noche. Entonces entras en mi cuarto pa' ver. Levántate mi amor, hoy vamos a beber. Chacho, ponte algo sexy, bebé. Tírate un selfie, bebé. Yeah, hey. Ponte algo sexy, mi amor. Chacho, tírate un selfie, mi amor. Hey, dale, tírate un selfie que te ve bien cabrón. Brindamos todas las copas, que se trabajo. Tírate un selfie que te ve 1,000,000. No hay trabajo en la mañana, un bendición. Baby, put your favorite dress on. And baby, we can skip and go right to the sequel. Prende the Philly blunt, take a hit for the people. Que se el Instagram, que se algoritmo. Machuca sin vergüenza y la tiro con ritmo. Agua. You know I like it like that. You know I like it like that. You know I like it like that. Yeah. Tírate un selfie que te ve bien cabrón.
Oh wow, guys, that is absolutely stunning. I think this is one more country I have to put on my bucket list. I was not expecting that. To be honest, I don't even know what I was expecting. So, why is the UK media so angry about Colombia, I hear you ask? Because Harry and Meghan are due to go there soon. This article is from Sky News, published on the 1st of August 2024. The headline reads, Prince Harry and Meghan to visit Colombia later this summer for 4 days. The exact details of the Sussexes' trip are yet to be unveiled, but this is another important moment for the couple as they attempt to rebuild their lives and roles outside the royal family. Before I go on, guys, I just want to address this particular paragraph. As the couple attempt to rebuild their lives and roles outside the royal family. This has been over 4.5 years. I think they've kind of established themselves already. It hasn't taken them that long. Why is it in the UK's eyes that they're still attempting to rebuild their lives and roles outside the royal family? They've done it. They're not attempting, they've actually done it. Anyway, let me continue. Harry and Meghan were invited to the country by the Vice President Francia Marquez. It's understood the trip will showcase the heritage of Colombia and will also focus on ways to create safer spaces online. The visit follows the couple's trip to Nigeria earlier this year. Although these are not official state visits, as the Sussexes are no longer working royals, this trip to Colombia will likely look and feel like one. Harry and Meghan will spend time in the capital, Bogota, as well as the Caribbean and Pacific regions of Cartagena and Cali. It's understood the couple are looking forward to their trip, which will involve meetings with young people and youth leaders. In a statement, Ms. Marquez said she was pleased the Sussexes had accepted her invitation, which will illuminate Colombia's role as a beacon of culture and innovation. Colombia is hosting the International Ending Violence Against Children conference in November, part of which will unveil plans to improve online safety and ways to tackle cyberbullying. Several of the couple's engagements will relate to these topics, which are closely aligned with the work carried out by their Archewell Foundation. In May this year, Meghan and Harry spent 3 days visiting Nigeria to mark 10 years of the Invictus Games. Their stay included a traditional welcome ceremony and a trip to a school where pupils lined up to meet the Sussexes and take selfies. Although there will be strong resemblances to a royal tour, these are private visits, albeit with most of the engagements played out in public. The exact details are yet to be unveiled, but this is another important moment for the couple as they attempt to rebuild their lives outside of the royal family. The King and Queen last visited Colombia nearly a decade ago. Okay, they felt the need to repeat that first paragraph in the penultimate paragraph. And then the last paragraph, the King and Queen visited Colombia nearly a decade ago. What have the King and so-called Queen got to do with Harry and Meghan going to Colombia? Why are they relevant to this article? They always try and shoehorn the rest of the royal family into anything that Harry and Meghan do. So in recent days, the way that this has been referenced, well, it wasn't Colombia reference, it was a world tour that was talked about in the wider media, as if Harry and Meghan had made a list of countries they were determined to visit, you know, by their own will, come hell or high water. Just like it was with Nigeria, where they were invited. The same applies to Colombia, as you can clearly see, where it says Harry and Meghan were invited to the country by the Vice President Francia Marquez. The fact is that Harry and Meghan are well respected and held in high esteem by these other countries. Where they are not held in high esteem is in Harry's birth country. And it will become more and more evident as this tour, which again they're going to call a royal tour. Harry and Meghan haven't called it that. It will become more evident as they travel through these regions. Now, what these thick-headed journalists seem to forget is that when Harry and Meghan are invited to these countries, they will be provided with top-tier security, just as they were in Nigeria. Needless to say that with every country the Sussexes visit, the resentment towards them from the UK will continue to build, which I just find incredibly sad. Now, staying on the subject of security,
the Duke and Duchess of Sussex have shared their concerns for their children's safety online during a rare joint interview to highlight the threat of online bullying. Harry and Meghan say they want to help families who've suffered because of what's said on social media and elsewhere, as Ian Woods reports.
As they search for new non-royal roles, good causes to support as well as commercial ventures to earn a living, the Sussexes have landed on a topic which many parents will identify with. The Duke and Duchess have met families who know what it's like to lose a child to suicide, often after they were being tormented online. Their own children, Archie and Lilibet, are still too young to be accessing the internet, but Harry and Meghan spoke to the American network CBS about the challenges ahead.
Our kids are young, they're 3 and 5. They're amazing. But all you want to do as parents is protect them. And so as we can see what's happening in the online space, we know that there's a lot of work to be done there, and we're just happy to be able to be a part of change for good.
That when your children ask for help, someone, is there to give it.
If you know how to help.
Thank you.
At this point, we've got to the stage where almost every parent needs to be a first responder. And even the best first responders in the world wouldn't be able to tell the signs of possible suicide. That is the terrifying piece of this.
Their involvement has been warmly welcomed by Mariano Janine, whose daughter Mia took her own life aged just 14 after online bullying. He says she identified with how Meghan was often treated by the press.
My daughter Mia wrote something before she passed away, and she was mentioned the way that Meghan was treated, like she was bullied. She mentioned this. I think it's an amazing thing. We need to raise awareness. If it's a public figure, it's better because people pay more attention.
Previously, Prince Harry's most successful project was born out of his own experiences as a soldier, founding the Invictus Games for wounded servicemen and women. Now that he's a father, he wants to tackle cyberbullying of kids.
We need to get out of this idea that young kids, there's something wrong with them. It's the world that we're allowing to be created around them.
And it's also a campaign that he and his wife can work on together. Ian Woods, ITV News.
I want you to notice the subtle thread that has been running through these news reports in relation to Harry and Meghan. The way that the UK media constantly infers that the couple are somehow divided, it feels like by perpetuating this narrative, the collective will for the Sussexes to split must be made manifest in some way. And if you think I have no clue what I'm talking about, here's a post from someone called Albi Amankona, never heard of him before, who works for GB News. This post was made on GB News' Twitter/X account on the 17th of February 2024. It reads, "Leave Meghan in Montecito, bring those 2 beautiful kids with you and just come home." This dude, never heard of him before, as I said, don't wish to know about him. Hope I never see his name again. makes an impassioned plea to Prince Harry to leave Meghan Markle in America and come back to the UK along with his 2 children to see if he can rejoin the royal family. You would have to be out of your tiny pinhead mind if you think that Harry would ever leave the life that he developed and cultivated with Meghan and the family that they created together in order to return to the cesspit that he longed to get away from long before he reached the age of consent. It would be better for these UK media types to redirect their focus to the members of the royal family who actually live here, i.e. the future King and Queen, who, if reports are to be believed, are the ones whose relationship is questionable. I wonder why we always have to be told constantly of their changing movements as separate entities rather than as a united couple. Every few days. If it's done in an attempt for them to stay relevant in the public consciousness because Kate has been absent and William has been gallivanting, I for one simply do not care. Okay guys, I'm realizing that we have to get to a stage where we have these uncomfortable conversations. I mean, a lot of people want to bury their heads in the sand and think that certain things don't go on because it is hard to confront when you're talking about how people are treated with regard to their ethnicity, background, heritage, social status, etc. Yeah, we can pretend that everything is hunky-dory, but it's not. It really isn't. What I've realised over the last, I'd say, few weeks, with all this violence going on in this country, I've never been under the illusion that this is a civilised society. When you talk to people from outside the UK, they have had this perception of British people as very reserved, very proper, very civilised, and the truth is that is not the case. And you talk about how children are treated in this country. I'm referencing that because of the International Ending Violence Against Children conference in Colombia in November, as I had shown you before. I didn't even know that was a thing. Never heard of that before. I doubt whether the UK participates in that because they don't like children in this country. How can I say that? I can say that very easily. The way that children are treated in this country is abominable. Let's take the BBC, for instance. All this stuff that happened after Jimmy Savile died, you can look it up online if you're not familiar with that story. He was a BBC employee. Rolf Harris was a BBC employee. Stuart Hall was a BBC employee. And now Hugh Edwards, another BBC employee, involved in inappropriate attitudes towards children. This is the civilized society we live in. And what I see Harry and Meghan trying to do is counteract that. Some of the royal family are involved with these people. They have a dark history with Jimmy Savile. All these people that, it's all intertwined. It's all very sinister, all very dirty. I'm just glad that these guys have got away and they live in America and they don't have to get involved in this nonsense. And what I realised with Harry and Meghan is that investing in people is something that they are very passionate about. It's all very well you saying, you having these good intentions and you just throw money at a problem and you shake hands with people and you know, it's a token gesture. This is what the royal family does. Harry and Meghan get involved in these countries, give their time, give their resources, and this is the reason why they are invited, courtesy of these governments. They actually are invited. They don't invite themselves, they are invited. Consequently, the establishment, the British establishment, have smoke coming out of their ears because they don't understand why they are not treated in the same way. Investing in people, fostering good relationships, structuring networks and maintaining those networks is key. It doesn't take much to do that. But when your agenda is selfishness and greed, you will never see that, because you have short-termism. That's your mindset. You're not looking at the long term. And as far as I'm concerned, the royal family need to understand that it's no longer enough just to take a flight once every few years to certain countries, shake hands with world leaders, have a banquet, and then fly back home. Let's take Kenya for instance. Charles and Camilla, they hated that place. They hated it. It was an unsuccessful trip because their heart was not in it. They don't like the people, they don't like the culture, they don't like anything about Africa. We've already been told that by Tom Bower, an anti-Meghan personality. What's going to happen? Let me tell you. Let me tell you what's going to happen with this Colombia trip, okay? The UK media is going to make sure that they follow the Sussexes around, okay? They're going to do, we all know they're going to do that. What's going to happen also is that they're going to pick up bits and pieces where, this is in my head, okay? It may not happen, but this is in my head, where Meghan will be conversing in Spanish with various officials, etc. Because remember, from memory, if memory serves me correctly, she did an internship as part of the United Nations where she spent time in Argentina, and she's fluent in Spanish. This again will show up other members of the royal family who have no interest in fostering international relations. And I think it's a general trait, a British trait. Okay, I'm generalizing. Yes, I'm generalizing, because having studied languages at school, it's not something that I saw many of my peers wanting to do. And as I've got older, it's still the case. Many British people don't even know the geography of the UK. If you watch quiz games and there's geography questions that come up about their own, where they live, they have no clue about geography. Okay, they're not interested in foreign languages because, as far as they're concerned, English is still the dominant language, and that's becoming less true in various parts of the world. I know Mandarin is spoken widely, Spanish is spoken widely now. And speaking of which, you know, you have people from the UK that go and emigrate to Spain, call themselves expats. They're immigrants, okay? Initially, they will have you believe that they want to immerse themselves in the culture, learn the language. Trust me, that rarely happens. They go to Spain and they have their little enclaves, Britain in the sun, basically. They have no interest in immersing themselves in the culture or learning the language. So when these guys see Meghan converse in Spanish with Colombian officials and dignitaries, and their head is going to explode. Let me tell you, their heads are going to explode, guys, and I'm here for it. So before I go, I think it's only fitting, as this video is uploading on her birthday, to wish Meghan a happy 43rd birthday. She's living her best life. She's doing what she needs to do. She's where she needs to be. She's with the people that love her. And I hope she has an amazing day. So guys, if your thoughts were provoked in any way, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, and if you haven't yet become a house guest, don't forget to hit subscribe and activate all of your notifications. I want to take this opportunity to thank you guys so much for watching. Enjoy the rest of your day, and you shall catch me in the next video.